What up, people? It's Nickopz here, and today I'm going to be talking about the variation system and why I feel like it should never return to any other Mortal Kombat game. Now, I know that sounds a bit harsh, but honestly, that's just my opinion on it. Ever since the variation system had been introduced in MK10, I've always thought it was a good idea on paper, but in reality, it just hurts the game more than it helps the game for a lot of reasons. Now, let's put it let's break it down into sections. The first part is the balancing. It is simply harder for a developer to balance the game when you have variations. And at the end of the day, having variations is just not worth it over having balance. Put it like this. You know that the community is complaining about a certain character or bothered about a certain character. Now, what nerfs could you, matter of fact, let's use an example. We'll say Katana. Now, Katana is in a very interesting place. Most people, for the most part, think that her first variation and third variation are lackluster, and her second variation is top tier. Now, how do you balance this character if you're a developer? Now, you're thinking about it, and you're like, okay, well, we could do this and we could do that, but if we give her that to make her other two variations better, what if it makes Highborn like even better? Now, you can say something like, oh, what if they just buff the certain tools specific to that variation? Now, what if that doesn't make the character better? Then what do they do? Like, honestly, them having a variation system just creates more work. Like, maybe the character needs an upgrade to their base kit for something to be better. Maybe it's not a specific thing in the variation. You see what I mean? It's just so much that a developer has to do to compensate for there being variations in this game when it comes to stuff like that. Now, in reality, it might just sound easy what they can do, but you never know what changing this or changing that is going to do to a lot of characters or specific characters. So that's the first problem, the balance. Like, they're just not going to ever really get it right if they are stuck with variations forever. It's actually harder for them to balance the game. Now, let's get into the second reason, and I think this is the most important reason. People just going to play the best variation anyway. Like, what's the point of having all these variations when we know that people are just going to pick up the best one? Like, do you see any Destroyer Terminators? Do you see any Final Judgment Terminators? Like, no. People just play the best variation. Do you see any freaking Shock Jock Johnny Cages? Like, do you see it at all? No. Do you see any Ancestral Gift Nightwolves? You just don't. Wanna know why? Because a lot of these variations, one of them is so much better than the other ones. So there's no reason to play the other one. And variations don't really do what they aim for them to do. They make the variation system so you can pick up your character and have a different experience when you play your character. But that's not the case for the most part. Like, if you pick up some of these variations, it's just like you're going to thrive off what the character has that's already good. Or if you're not thriving, you're going to be like, well, this is already bad. Stuff is still bad. It's just not going to change much. Like Raiden right now. Raiden in his current state is a low tier character. Now, if they do something to one of these variations and make one of them top tier, did that really completely fix Raiden? Yeah, people are going to be happy because they can play Raiden now, but what about the other variations? Like, it's just a whole mess if y'all not getting what I'm trying to say. It's just way too much to think about, and that's probably why they were just very lazy with the third variations and just plopped them in the game. Like, you honestly can't look at these third variations and tell me they tried. They just didn't. And it's honestly because it just might be too much work for them. to balance it. It really just might. And in my opinion, I feel like the variation systems, not systems, well, yeah, actually systems, because it was in MK10 and 11, I just feel like they should go. I don't get why they're in the game. They obviously, like, think about it right now. Have you ever played a character in this game to where, like, oh, I'm gonna play this variation for this moment and this variation. Oh, but if I'm fighting this character, I'm gonna use this variation. No, you don't really do that. You just don't. You probably be like, oh, wait, I'm fighting this character. Let me pick a different character. Not this variation. Now, in MK10, they had more options to where you can do that. But in this game, just absolutely not. You're simply not going to be like, okay, let me just go ahead and pick up. Now, there's definitely some characters to where you can pick them up and use their variations to a certain extent. Like Jackie, all her variations are good. Joker, all his variations are good. Like, there's a few characters you can pick up where they all have viable variations, but for the most part, not really. Like Garrus, all his variations are good. But you see, it's really hard for me to find these people because it's just very few. But that's just the point of the game. I mean, not the point. The point of this video is just to basically describe how much of a mess it is that the variation system is in the game. Now, I feel like if the variation system was taken out, then they could focus more energy to making complete characters instead of just trying to rush out all these variations and just be stuck, honestly. I really feel like currently in this game, well, for the rest of MK history, if they stick with this variation system, then MK will permanently have a balancing issue. It just really will. And not saying that there's a really big issue now, which there is because Jackie and Johnny are running the game, but the point is, it just makes everything harder when there's no need for that. When they could just simply make it like Injustice 2. You can, if people want to have that variation stuff, then let them have it, but, you know, have it like Injustice 2 where they can go use it in casual. It don't affect tournament level play. If you want to play this game in a tournament setting or a, you know, high level competitive setting, then you just, you know, have the tournament character. And if you want to go use your character with added things, go use it in like uncompetitive casual match, like Injustice 2. I thought it was perfect like that. You had a bunch of base characters in that game, and the base characters, for the most part, at the end of that game's life cycle, it was actually very balanced. Matter of fact, Injustice 2, at the end of that game's life cycle, is the most balanced game I've ever played, balanced fighting game I've ever played to date. And by the time all that stuff, by the time that game had got to its last legs, it was really good. Now, the thing about Injustice 2, it was honestly just a boring game, in my opinion, but it was definitely a very balanced game. And I think the big part of that is NRS was like, okay, we can just go ahead, okay, this character needs that character needs that. And they didn't even really have to try on the variations like that because they knew it wasn't a big deal. Like, yep, just chunk the variations in there, was giving them some stuff, and if people want to go play uncompetitive matches, they could just go do that. And boom, there you go. Simple solution. So yeah, everybody, that's what I think about the variation system. Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think that it's a good idea and should be left in the game forever? Or you feel like that they should just put more work into it and it'll be fine? I was thinking maybe 2 variations at the most would be good because it'll be easier for them, but honestly, I just think they completely need to be gone. But like I said, that's just my personal opinion. That's how I feel about it. It'll just be easier for them. And that's basically it. But like I said, let me know what y'all think in the comments below about everything. And yeah, that's basically it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Twitch and my Patreon. And Nickopz out.